Mike from Collinsville, Illinois, and you're watching Takeover TV. Subscribe now.
What is up, friends? Takeover peeps, random person coming across this video. However you got here, I am happy to have you. It's another week where that plant lives in that spot. Maybe it's its permanent spot from now on. I don't know. We're here with another weekly wrap-up. It's funny, every week I tell myself that I'm going to get way ahead on writing these things. That I'm going to write this on write the script for it on Monday or Tuesday. And every single week it's the same. I write it usually the night before. Today I wrote it this morning. It's not that I don't have notes and ideas floating around my head throughout the week that I'm jotting down, but putting together the cohesiveness of it just comes, about 24 hours or less before this happens. That's honestly kind of the way that I like doing it, though. To be honest, pretty much every single video that's been made on here thus far has come down to the wire. Not in a sort of rushed way, but it feels like a really natural letting it come together way for myself personally. So as long as it works, I'll keep going that. Future videos down the road, though, will take a little bit more scripting. There's actually an unannounced video that I've been working on since around Christmas time that I'm excited to do down the road, but it takes a whole lot more to go into it. Anyways, weekly wrap-up time. Let's get into it. That's what you guys are here for. Thank you for joining me. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider liking and subscribing, turning on those notifications, and hanging out with me week after week. I actually went to a sports card show this last weekend, and that's not something that I can say that I do this often. Now, you're probably looking at me and thinking so this guy Dan is a sports card reseller, but he doesn't go to sports card shows? And honestly, that's just because I feel like I don't always have the time. It's not that I don't love going to them, but it's kind of I work through the whole week making these videos, writing the scripts, running the takeover sales on Twitter, come hang out 3 times a week. And then the weekend happens and it's time to have family time. Sometimes I bring them along with me, but oftentimes it's not their cup of tea. This past weekend, I got to do both. I got to have plenty of family time and go to a sports card show. It's actually kind of funny how it came about. I went to my local card shop, my LCS, last week. And then as I was leaving last second, I turned around and I asked the owner, do any card shows happen around here that you know about? Because I'm new to Florida. I mean, I just moved here at the end of November from Minnesota, Minneapolis to be exact. So I always knew where those card shows were happening, but I didn't know anything about these. And he actually told me that there was one happening the next morning just down the road from the card shop. So I went and attended it the next day, went in on Sunday. It was honestly pretty small, but I like those. I like it when it's not too overwhelming. I also like going to the National, though, but that's a whole different story. That's big. I still like the big ones, too, but this one was small. I wasn't really finding anything I wanted, and then I got to the last table, and I had a really cool conversation with the guy running it. He is obviously a sports card seller. He had a table there. He's also a YouTuber. I will link or show his page or something here. Maybe I'm pointing to it. I don't know. But he goes by Brucey's World on there. We were talking about the card industry. We were talking about things I collect, what I do. And he had my favorite thing ever to find at a sports card show. I love, 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 love going through the dollar bins, the $3 bins, the $5, the 25-cent. I love going through there. I love the thrill of the hunt. I can find things for my customers on the takeover side of things, but as I'm also going through there looking for cards to flip, I also, every single time, find PC cards for myself. And that is one of my favorite things, adding cards to my personal collection. I'm always looking for Baltimore Ravens cards. I started looking for Kevin Garnett cards because I realized he was one of my favorite athletes growing up, and I think I'm going to make a little side PC of him. Nothing too crazy yet. I'm not even sure how much I want to do, but if a Kevin Garnett card catches my eye, I'm adding it. And there were a few in there that caught my eye. I like those old inserts. So grabbed a few of those for myself. Found some really good inventory. If any of you were on the takeover sales this week, you probably already saw what I bought through that guy's card table already run through the sale, and many of you grabbed some pretty cool stuff, so that's exciting. Another cool part of the card show was I was able to bump into one of you that buy stuff from my takeover sales, really long-term customer Pam, who goes by @SpamBabe on Twitter, was there, and it was so random. I had walked up actually. So the guy whose last table I went to, he's going to be taking over this card show and kind of refreshing it, rebranding it, putting promotion out there and whatnot. Younger than the guy that was running it before. He had a list where you could put your email down. I was putting my email down and I saw a name on there and I was like, I recognize that name. Like, I've shipped enough stuff over time or whatever. And I started kind of looking around, and then out of nowhere, Pam was like, are you Dan / like DMN Takeover or whatever? And we got to chat. It was so cool. I love meeting people from the sports card community, especially the Takeover one, in person, because you all mean a lot to me and have supported me over the years. And that was a really cool aspect of it for me. And it was also so random because she was like visiting her dad, didn't even live in the area, I don't think, and we just happened to be at that same random little card show same time. So that was a really cool thing. Speaking of card shows, the National is getting closer and closer each and every single day. If you are going to the National, please say so in the comments. I'd love to meet as many of you as possible, as I will be looking to attend this year. In the sports world, we had our first free agency QB moves. You know, we've been waiting on those big names for a long time. Last week, we talked about our dear friend Aaron Rodgers. Still hasn't made a decision, waiting. Derek Carr made a decision, however. He signed a 4-year contract with the New Orleans Saints. I've seen a lot of people say that this is a very lateral move for Derek Carr, and that may be true, but I think this is a really nice move for the Saints, actually. I'm excited to see what he does in that system. Lamar Jackson got the non-exclusive franchise tag from the Baltimore Ravens, which means that he's allowed to talk to other teams, and if a team were to make him an offer or do an offer sheet, the Ravens are allowed to match that. So the Ravens can ultimately decide if they wanted to match that offer and keep him or get 2 first-round picks as compensation instead. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Daniel Jones got a 4-year extension with the New York Giants, a pretty big contract, honestly. I was a little bit surprised, but he's really picked it up this year, and they seem to like him, so they made it clear that he is their guy going forward. I have a feeling that now the next 2 weeks will get pretty wild with news as players make decisions, as we're coming close. I mean, the NFL draft is just over a month away, so I think news will pick up there rather quickly. Speaking of the NFL draft, the scouting combine happened last week. That's something that is kind of like, you know, I think it's not everyone's cup of tea to watch that. I really like having it on in the background while I'm doing stuff each year. It's just fun to speculate and stuff, even though it's just, you know, selected glorified drills. You're watching guys do like shuttle runs and catching passes that wouldn't necessarily happen at that speed in the game, and they're not in uniform, and they're running 40-yard dashes, all that stuff. Bunch of drills. I still like watching it and speculating and kind of starting to lean towards players that I hope my favorite teams draft. I think it's really cool. I enjoy watching it. Other sports stuff, March Madness starts next week for men's college basketball. I'm really excited for that. That's honestly one of my most favorite things, I think, in sports, outside of like the Super Bowl or say the NBA Finals, things like that. I really enjoy watching March Madness. I'm not going to lie, I did not pay very good attention to college basketball this year. I think I watched one game and I was distracted the whole time. But March Madness is super fun to me because I always love when there is some sort of, you know, underdog, unexpected team, Cinderella story making a run through the teams they weren't supposed to beat. Seems to happen every year. I'm really excited to see who that team is and then start cheering for them. Yes, that's a very bandwagon move, but I like watching the unexpected happen. So I'm excited to have a bunch of those games on while I'm doing work next week and just, you know, seeing there. Do any of you have a favorite team in March Madness right now? Did your team make it? Did your local or your maybe even your alma mater or just players that you enjoy watching, did they make it? Say so in the comments if they did. We're going to pivot a little bit out of sports news stuff. Interesting space exploration thing happening this week. Historic. Relativity Space, a space company, plans to launch the first ever 3D printed rocket into outer space. Now, it's not completely 3D printed, but I think I saw somewhere that it was like 85% of the materials that went into building it were 3D printed, so that qualifies. Be the first ever of that kind to be launched. It was actually supposed to launch yesterday, but they kept putting it on hold, and then they ultimately scrubbed it because they got too close to the launch window. I believe it is rescheduled for Saturday, And, you know, since I live in Florida, I get to see these rocket launches. If it does happen, I will, and I'm around, I will try to document it and then get it uploaded on this channel. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, or, you know, just rocket launches in general, or seeing stuff that you're not used to seeing, I do have a playlist on Takeover TV titled Rocket Launches, where I've posted multiple others. I think like 7 at this point. There's actually supposed to be another one happening this week, so you may even already have another rocket launch to watch by the time you see this video. One thing to note about this rocket is that since it is the first of its kind, they're just kind of trying to do like proof of concept that this thing can even launch and, like, you know, stay together when it goes into outer space. There's a lot of things up. So there is no payload on it, obviously no humans, and the mission name for the rocket is Good Luck, Have Fun. I love that. Last week, we brought in a new segment to Takeover TV's weekly wrap-up called Stuff That Slaps, and we're going to keep doing it. We're back with the second ever Stuff That Slaps. This week's Stuff That Slaps is potato chips. Okay, I get it. There's so many chip flavors out there. Why would I choose plain old original potato chips? And you know what? I see and hear you. I like all the crazy flavors too. I like the spicy, flavor blasted, tongue wave, taste bud sprinkler, whatever describing thing they want to use for some crazy flavor out there that you buy from your local store. But there is something so pure and classic about the potato chip that I return to every single time. It's like a comfort thing. First of all, I'm just glad there's so many flavors of chips, right? We all are. But after I've had all those flavors, I come back home to Old Reliable, the classic potato chip. It's just the perfect balance of crunch and salty and savory. It just hits, and it pairs with anything. It's just the perfect thing to go on the side of your lunch, midnight snack, breakfast, I don't care. Anything you want. It's just perfect. It just hits just right. Potato chips are a certified slapper. Kobe. I didn't make it. It's time for a music suggestion portion of the show. I've got 2 pretty unique ones that I don't think any of you have heard, and that makes me happy because as much as I also like talking, you know what, I'll talk about all the songs. If it's a song that I like listening to the week that I make it, I'll talk about it. I don't care how popular it is. But I really, really, really especially love the times that I can introduce you to something new and then have you listen to it and report back to me. My first suggestion is a song called Limit of Shunt by a band called Beanbag. Beanbag doesn't exist anymore. They were an alternative rock band from Australia that had a run from 1995 to 2002. And Limit of Shunt is a song that just has a chorus that just constantly gets stuck in my head. The song opens with a simple acoustic guitar line, and then it builds into all the instruments coming in, and it's really cool. It kind of drifts between that like early Chevelle, think like Point Number 1 Chevelle alternative rock, and then also carries the influences of all sorts of, you know, probably the 90s grunge bands that were surrounding that time period as well. And just smash those together. Go listen to Limit of Shunt by Beanbag. My second music suggestion this week is an artist named Just Wayne. And Just Wayne is an up-and-coming rapper who also just happens to be one of my dear friends who is just a fantastic human being. And although Just Wayne is just starting, Wayne has already pumped out so many good songs and has developed so much over a small period of time that you can already tell he's just one of those artists that you want to get in on early, because there's going to be some day where Just Wayne just rockets off from the rest of us if he keeps going with this and moving forward. And it's going to be really cool for those of us that are able to say that we heard some of the earliest singles. One of the reasons that I love Just Wayne's music so much is the storytelling and honesty in the words and lyrics of the song. It brings you along for a journey. It gives you a look into who Just Wayne is. It makes you think a lot. But the thing that absolutely hooks me in the songs is the beats and the sampling. Those mixed with Just Wayne's flow remind me so much of one of my favorite eras of rap music, which was the late 90s and early to mid 2000s. The flow reminds me a lot of Mace slash Bad Boy Family era stuff and early Kanye, especially with those samples mixed in, which is a powerful punch to have those two be things that my brain immediately goes to. I suggest you pull up his Spotify and just start listening. Some of my favorite tracks, though, are 1111 in Portland, New Fans, and Flip the Script, which is the newest single to drop. All right, that's all I have for you, friends. Thank you so much for hanging out. I love doing these weekly wrap-ups. I hope that also for you, they're just really kind of nice way to shake up, you know, the things going on in your life through your week. Hopefully this is a time where you can stop, take a breather, and hang out, have some fun, maybe laugh a little bit, and hear some cool and exciting things maybe you didn't know about. Peace and love.